Prolapse, you can have different stages of it based on severity, but essentially one or more of your pelvic organs has slipped out of its ideal location and is typically bulging out into your vaginal canal or your rectum. Really common with postpartum, especially if you pushed for a long time, if they use forceps during your delivery, if you had a big baby, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
This is episode number 89 of the Mom Talks with Krista podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to share my interview with Ashley Nowe from Get Mom Strong. She is a postpartum exercise specialist and talks about how she took research and matters into her own hands when it came to her postpartum body and how to strengthen her body and teach other women to do the same. We just have a really great conversation and she's just so empowering. But before we get to the interview, I would like to start these now with some housekeeping. Well, I actually don't like the term housekeeping. I know a lot of other podcasts or things say we want to do like housekeeping notes, but I kind of think that comes across weird. So I'm just going to call it community updates from now on. I like that much better. So next week we have our second peanut pod of the month on Thursday, the 21st. I believe I'm already announcing things for the 21st of July. Time's just flying by way too fast. It'll be at 1 p.m. Central. And the title for this next peanut pod is called Love Yourself Just for Today. And it's kind of going along with the notion that if we can focus on loving ourselves and giving compassion to ourselves for one day, why can't we do it every day? I think there's this overwhelming thing that comes with self-love that we're like, oh, that's too much work. That's a big undertaking, right? And so it kind of started with me journaling one morning and saying, what if I could love myself just for today? What if I could not overthink just for today? What if I could not be down on myself just for today? And I think it's that like tiptoe, we don't have to make a grand gesture or a huge dive into the pool. We can start with tippy toes and that's okay. It's okay to go in slowly and try things out. So we're going to kind of talk through that. Would love for you guys to join me. The link to join my Peanut Pod group should be in the show notes. They're also shared throughout our Facebook group as well. But you can search our group, Mom Talks with Krista, on the Peanut Pod app. So I hope you join. Next up, we've got some exciting things coming to Mommy Knows Best. But you are not going to find out about them here in the podcast or the show. You have to be on our email list. So if you want to find out first about things, join our email newsletter list. Here's where you're going to find out about exciting updates, product launches, giveaways, and so much more that you will not want to miss. You will be the first. And so you can sign up at the link in the show notes. It's just a great added way to be a part of our community. We also, I kind of talked about it last week, but we also highlight amazing moms and experts in our community. So if you're ever like, I don't know what to do about baby-led weaning, or my baby's, I'm trying to wean off breastfeeding. Where do I go? We share different experts in our emails sometimes. So different things like that. It's just a great resource to have. And then if you're not in our Facebook group, the New Mom Breastfeeding and More support group by Mommy Knows Best. I know it's a mouthful, but you got to join us there. This is essentially our VIP community. So a lot of the stuff that I mentioned in our email list, you do get, but this is more like a connection one-on-one. So emails we send out, you receive them. And that's kind of, it's kind of more one-sided. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but community, our Facebook group is more, we put something out or you put something out and we go back and forth. People in our group get to know about products first, get to try products first. It's just the even cooler thing. So when we go to launch a product, we're going to push it out to our Facebook group first because we want real moms in our group to try it. So if you want to be a part of that, link is in the show notes or in the details as well. You also get a head start on giveaways. So we usually launch like a pre-launch to our Facebook group first, or the exclusive giveaways. There's a lot of giveaways that we do that only our Facebook group knows about and has access to, not to mention our new member giveaway. So every single week, there are two different giveaways to all the new members. I got distracted by the sirens. Okay. Plus, like I kind of mentioned, it's this community. So join almost 30,000 other moms in this community to discuss all kinds of things. I mean, really, there is no limit. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your motherhood journey. Maybe you're trying to conceive right now. Maybe you're pregnant with your first baby. Maybe you already have 5 kids, but you know things have changed since the last kid. Whatever it is, we welcome you and we invite you to be a part of this community. Kind of getting more into the podcast, last week we had Kimberly King, author of I Said No. It's a book all about teaching your kids consent. And, I think we hear consent as this like scary word, and it can be, definitely. I get that. But teaching kids younger or at different ages in different ways is so smart. And the way Kimberly does it is in such a empowering way to the parents. So if this especially is a topic that's scary to you, I highly encourage you to listen to the episode, because she has some different ways for teaching consent based on their age and pointing out red flags, all that stuff that I think is really, really important to know. So if you've not listened to that yet, go back to that episode after you listen to this one. And next week, you don't want to miss my interview with Carrie Anna Gibb, who is a pediatric sleep consultant. So she's talking all about the myths around baby and toddler sleep. This is a big episode. So many questions we get about sleep. So why not have an expert on? So we have a really good discussion there. You don't want to miss it. So that's all my updates and highlights for the week. Definitely connect with us in other areas. If you're enjoying the podcast, let us know. Please leave a review. The reviews help so much. It helps other parents find the podcast, and your support just means the world to me. So without further ado, here's my interview with Ashley Nowe. And now, here's my interview with Ashley Nowe from Get Mom Strong. Enjoy. Hey guys, hope you're having a great week so far. Today on the podcast, I have Ashley Nowe here from Get Mom Strong. She is a pregnancy and postpartum fitness specialist who, through her own journey of having kids and having questions and concerns about her own body, she took matters into her own hands and did the research, took some courses, and now she's coaching moms that have the same questions to love themselves, love their skin, and transform their body and get mom strong. So if you have questions about your pregnancy fitness journey or postpartum, this is the episode for you. She has so many tips for how moms can really be their own advocate and be empowered and be strong through their whole pregnancy and postpartum journey. So love talking with Ashley. You're gonna love this episode. And of course, stick around to the very end for our Mom Tales of the Week. These are questions that we post on our social media every week, and we share some of our favorite responses. So you won't want to miss this. So without further ado, here's my interview with Ashley Nowe. Thank you so much for coming on today. I cannot wait to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. Such an honor.
Yeah. And so just before we get started, can you just tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Ashley Nowe, and I'm the founder of Get Mom Strong. I started this business after I had my twins and was left with a incredibly large diastasis recti. I went out in the world. I was like, how do I fix this? And nobody had answers. So went back to school, learned how to fix it, worked with pelvic floor physical therapists. And I was like, I'm going to teach women how to do this. And that's how Get Mom Strong was born. And then from there, I created the Strong Like a Mother program, which takes like a total body approach to core and pelvic floor health.
I love that. I hear this time and time again that most women don't learn about these things until after they have kids. Like, are you kind of now in your practice, in your job, finding that's the same thing? Like women come to you like after, like, what's going on with my body?
100%. And most of them have a very similar story to me, which is like something doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. I just know my body and I know something's not right. You go to your medical professional and they tell you, oh, it's just cosmetic or only fixes surgery. And it's just not true. But we're just told that time and time again. I think it's an overarching problem with like women in the medical system, right? I think we just don't get the attention that is needed for these. I mean, 2 out of 3 women have some kind of postpartum issue. It's not like it's an uncommon thing. So I'm just not sure why we're not addressing it on a larger scale, but I'm doing my best to help from my end.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it kind of goes back to that, like dismissing women that have questions or concerns about their body. It's just kind of like, it's fine. It's normal. Just
Yep.
kind of move along. Yeah.
The price of motherhood, we're all told. That's just the price of motherhood.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going off like scheduling. I'm just so interested in this kind of like how you kind of took it into your own hands then to kind of do the research and be like, I'm going to help moms, what I'm kind of helping myself with right now. So kind of what was your process for kind of like answering your own questions and getting trained in this?
So I went to my obstetrician. I was probably about 4 months postpartum at that point. I had diagnosed myself by Googling, there's a football popping out of my stomach.
Oh, wow.
Because every time I would do sit-ups, I had been like an avid CrossFitter at the time, and every time I would do sit-ups, I would just see this like massive doming coming out of my tummy. And I looked, 5 months pregnant, even though it had been, 4 or 5 months since I had my kids. And I didn't have that with my firstborn. So I had a singleton first and then twins. So I went to my OBGYN. I was like, something's really wrong. Like, watch this party trick, stick my hand in between my six-pack muscles, and it just like sunk right in. And she's like, oh yeah, only thing you can do for that is surgery. And I remember sitting in my car and just crying. I was like literally sobbing. I was like, I don't want to have to do this. My babies are still little. Like, there's got to be a different way. So I started scouring some mommy chat rooms and found that pelvic floor physical therapy can help. Swear to God, this woman's an angel. I found a pelvic floor physical therapist. I went to her and I spent about a year just doing like really boring rehab exercises, which is like terrible after you've been an athlete, to like take a step back and really work on those fundamentals. But it changed everything. So fast forward, like I got all the way back into my fitness routine, was feeling good. I called her up. I was at my oldest son's t-ball game. I was like, Diana, we have to change this. Like, this cannot be okay for women to not know that this stuff exists. And so she kind of took me under her wing, let me apprentice with her. And my stepson taught me how to use Instagram, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. Wow. So that, I love that, because you can not only teach these women, but you can teach as someone that has been through it. So you know firsthand like what you did and how you kind of made that journey as well.
Yeah, I've lived it. And I always tell women, I'm like, you see a ton of programs trying to sell you on like a 12-week fix or like some kind of quick, ridiculous fix. And I'm like, fasten your seatbelt, ladies. Like, we're in this. It takes a hot minute to fix this stuff, but it can be done. And you come out on the other side of it having a really good understanding of your body. So it's worth it, even though it's so frustrating in the moment.
When women come to you with this kind of question, I, have a similar, thing going on. Like I'm trying to look into how I can strengthen my core. What are kind of like the steps to like vetting them into this new program, or is there a new program you kind of send them? How does that kind of start?
So I make everyone who's interested in doing my program start with core basics. And this is the boring crap nobody wants to do. I'm just keeping it real. It's like, we're going to learn to breathe. We're going to learn how to engage our deep core muscles. So when you think of core exercises, almost everybody thinks about sit-ups and crunches, but underneath those six-pack muscles, you have this huge, huge, huge muscle called the transverse abdominis. And it actually goes from your sternum all the way down to your pubis, and it wraps all the way around your back. And it's like a corset. It's our body's natural corset system. So my first step in helping women heal is to teach them how to use this muscle and how to do it with their breath. Most women suck in and hold their breath, and they breathe up into their chest, and it creates all kinds of problems with both your core muscles and your pelvic floor. And most of us start doing this long before kids. The kids are kind of like birthing babies is like the straw that breaks the back, right? But it starts usually in our adolescence when we start sucking in and being self-conscious, because we live in a society where women are told they have to be small.
When they go through this program, then about like you said, so it's a long haul. So is it like, they go through a program and they would, keep up with it regularly? Is there regular exercises to do? What do you or is it going to kind of differ based on each, woman, kind of like a fitness journey?
So it does differ. So everyone has to start with core basics. That's the boring stuff. It's 6 levels. We get that mind muscle connection really solid. And then what I think sets my program apart, not to be like, patting my back here, but is From there, we take a total body approach to healing. And this is so important. A lot of times, rehab programs want to keep you just doing like heel taps and breathing exercises. I'm like, oh no, we're going to lift weights. We're going to get strong everywhere, but we have to lay that foundation first. So you do the 6 levels. And then from there, there's programs from beginner all the way to advanced. There's actually a quiz on the homepage that can ask you questions like about prolapse, diastasis recti, how long it's been since you've had your baby, and it kind of lays out the best program path for you. But we get sweaty once you do the boring core stuff. Like we work out. We really work out.
Awesome. And I'm kind of going backwards here with my questions, just because I feel like we got to keep talking about like postpartum, and we'll kind of go into like fitness during pregnancy later. But so you mentioned prolapse as well, and that's another thing that women come to you for. So can you kind of explain what prolapse is and what kind of the difference would be of how you kind of approach these exercises?
Prolapse, you can have different stages of it based on severity, but essentially, one or more of your pelvic organs has slipped out of its ideal location and is typically bulging out into your vaginal canal or your rectum. Really common with postpartum, especially if you've pushed for a long time, if they use forceps during your delivery, if you had a big baby, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So in terms of what can we do to heal it, right? It's a really frustrating condition. I would say it's one of the ones where women feel the most hopeless because they don't feel right. And let me start there. Let me answer what it feels like in case you're wondering at home. It can feel like a heaviness in your vagina, or you might even see or feel the bulging. It can feel kind of like you have a tampon stuck in there and it just doesn't feel right. Like if a tampon's falling out, that kind of sensation. A pelvic floor physical therapist will be able to assess and really take a look and let you know for sure if you have it, and if so, what stage it's at. But you can absolutely still get strong. Even if you've got prolapse, we can still work with prolapse. The key is to manage intra-abdominal pressure. So your core is a pressure system. If you think about it like a balloon, if you were to like squeeze in the middle of the balloon, all that pressure is going to go down, right? All that air is going to get dispersed down. We want to make sure that when we're picking up our kids that we're not bearing down and pushing down. We want to make sure that we're always exhaling when we lift heavy things. If you feel that heaviness at the end of the day, we can, get into gravity assisted positions to help. So there's a lot of ways you can be really proactive. So it feels hopeless, but we really can manage symptoms and hopefully get to the point where it feels so improved that you're not limited on anything.
I'm not sure if you get this question a lot or not, but it just kind of came to me. So like, is there like anything that people can do or women can do like during their pregnancy or before they start trying to kind of help with their kind of postpartum journey, like fitness experience? Or is that kind of something that your body might just change completely, and whatever you did, pre-pregnancy doesn't really affect that?
I would say some of both, because I don't want people listening who have postpartum issues to be like, it was my fault, because sometimes it just happens. But you can for sure be proactive. A lot of it comes down to that foundational work. So most women breathe wrong. We don't know how to manage our core pressure. So you can 100%, while you're trying to conceive, during pregnancy for sure, work on those deep core muscles, work on breathing. In my pregnancy program, I have pelvic floor PTs who talk about the best way to push, different positions you can push in that will hopefully reduce some of that aftermath, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And really being mindful of core exercises. I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but modifying a little bit, you can still be really active during pregnancy. You can work out super hard and challenge yourself, and but still do it mindfully is the key. And a lot of women aren't taught like how to modify things to make them more beneficial for their core and pelvic floor.
Okay, that's really good to know. And so since we're kind of touching on, like TTC or pregnancy, let's kind of start there. So I've heard people mention before that when you are kind of in that TTC, like you're maybe in that 2-week wait, kind of period, that you should kind of slow down on exercises or certain exercises. What is your kind of take on that? What's kind of safe during this time, and what kind of workouts do you recommend?
So if you're not using fertility treatments, you can honestly carry on as you were. You think of how many women get pregnant. It's so hard when you're trying to conceive, and I'm a fertility mom, so I know the 2-week wait all too well, and it can drive us insane. And again, that's another time where we blame ourselves, right? If we don't get pregnant, we're like, I shouldn't have worked out, or I should have worked out, or what? And we second guess ourselves. But by and large, you can continue with your activity. The only thing to think about when you're trying to conceive, you want to make sure you're not going into like a huge caloric deficit that sends your body into a shock. You want to make sure you're ovulating, obviously. So if you are running an exponential amount of miles each week, then your body wasn't used to it and you're in a caloric deficit, you may prevent yourself from ovulating. So other than that, you can pretty much carry on as you were, as long as your doctor says it's okay. So again, if you're using IVF, they may tell you to take it easier during those 2-week wait. I know I always got told that, tailor it back for a few days, but studies time and time again have proved how beneficial it is to exercise both while trying to conceive and during pregnancy.
And so then kind of going into pregnancy, we get a lot of questions too about what's safe during pregnancy, during which trimester, what kind of workouts should be avoided. And I know this has changed a lot because I know my parents' generation, they were told don't work out at all. You can walk, maybe put your feet up. Yeah. But then you see now more and more moms working out through their pregnancy, totally safe. So again, what is your take and your expertise on this?
So you can definitely work out. There are so many benefits as long as your practitioner has cleared you. And there's obviously cases where you can't. And again, I was a good example of this. I got put on pelvic floor bed rest, which meant I couldn't have sex or exercise. It was really sad. But as long as you have the green light to keep going, the benefits are just so good. So in the first trimester, you can pretty much keep up with your regular routine. The only thing you might want to consider, well, one, you might feel like garbage. So there's that to consider. If you need more rest, take it. A lot of times in that first trimester, we're like, I'm just going to keep going, muscle through it. And then you're nauseous and you feel just terrible. So give yourself grace in the first trimester, especially. During the first trimester, I would also ditch traditional ab work. Once you know you're pregnant, let's stop with the crunches and sit-ups. There's so many other core exercises. And if you follow me on Instagram, I post great core exercises for pregnancy all the time. So ditch the crunches, sit-ups, and that's pretty much it. In the second trimester, you want to be a little bit more mindful, especially of high impact exercises. So if you're feeling any of that heaviness, or if you're leaking while running, things like that, it's your body saying no thanks. So you may need to cut back on running, switch running for walking. If you're feeling those symptoms, you might also need to not be doing exercises on your back so much during that second trimester. If you get dizzy, we've got a major artery that carries blood to our brain called the vena cava. And sometimes as the baby gets heavier, it places pressure when we're on our back, and it can cut off blood flow to your brain and make you feel really dizzy. And then in the third trimester, you can still keep up. You might be feeling good, you might not. It really depends. Again, modifying exercises on your back. We're not doing crunches, sit-ups, obviously. But in the third trimester, we also really want to add in pelvic floor release work. So at the end of all the workouts in the third trimester, I always program 5 minutes. We're going to try to release our pelvic floor. And that's because during delivery, we really want that pelvic floor getting out of the way. Your uterus is what pushes out the baby. So we want that pelvic floor relaxed and learning to lengthen it so that we can get that baby out without having to push super hard, right? Purple push.
Yeah. So doing those kind of pelvic floor workouts can kind of help with the whole labor process. Do you find, I'm trying to use this in the right way, because obviously it can be different way, different labors are going to be different to different people. But do you find that women that kind of practice these pelvic floor exercises while they're pregnant have a better or easier labor when it comes to, kind of practicing with those muscles?
Yeah, the feedback has been amazing. I have had so many women write me and be like, I breathed the baby out. It was 5 minutes. I breathed the baby out. It was the most empowering experience ever. It's because you're learning how to use that deep core and pelvic floor, which is not only does it make your pregnancy more comfortable, right? Because those are all muscles we need support from, but it makes that actual delivery a lot easier for many women.
That's amazing. And so I know this is kind of all about staying strong during your pregnancy, but what's your main tip for moms that really want to stay strong during their pregnancy, or somehow maybe they're on a fitness journey now and they want to keep going with their fitness journey. They don't want pregnancy to stop it. So what are the best ways they can keep going strong and advancing in their fitness?
You can work out really hard and challenge yourself without jumping, without doing sit-ups and crunches. Like, you can absolutely surprise yourself. You can be strong. You can be so strong during pregnancy. You don't have to modify much, but taking the time to modify the things that are important that we just discussed pays off in the long run. So I would tell women this: pregnancy is a season. It is not forever. It feels like forever sometimes. It is not forever. You will be able to do all of the amazing, crazy exercises that you once did, but it pays off to take the time to modify a little bit for the long-term gains.
And so when women come to like postpartum, what are some of the most common issues, complaints, questions that women tend to come to you for?
Oh man, I mean, women feel broken. They feel broken is probably, like, if I were just to give one adjective, it would be that. Their body doesn't look right. It's not working right. They don't feel right. And meanwhile, they're supposed to keep a kid alive. So, and they're not light. Kids weigh a lot. And so they're in pain. So I think the most common things I get asked are like, how do I fix my core? How long am I going to have this pooch, right? We also have this societal pressure to bounce back instantly. So I get a lot of questions about, like, when will I look good again? And I'm always like, we're focusing on the strength first.
Mhm.
A lot of questions about how to breathe right? A lot of women know, like, I think the conversation's coming up more that many of us shouldn't suck in and we need to learn to breathe better, but then it's confusing because you've been sucking in for your whole life. So those are kind of the most common questions. Like, and when always people want rules, right? When can I get back into this exercise or that exercise? Or when can I do sit-ups and crunches? And it's very individual. I don't have like a timeline. And there's not an exercise list of like, this is off limits, this is okay. And people really like rules. And I'm like, I can't give you rules.
Like with most things, right? It's like it's like everyone's so individual. So it's like there's always like a baseline or something that you can offer, but it's like until you see that individual person, it's probably harder to give like an exact.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so if someone's listening right now and they're like, I think I have, some kind of something I want to, want fixed, or something I'm kind of insecure about or don't feel right about. And let's say they haven't had kid, it's been 1 or 2 years. Is it ever too late to start with your process or with your program and to kind of get back to feeling better about themselves?
That was actually one of the questions, ironically, that I get all the time. Yes, you can 100% still heal your core and pelvic floor no matter how far postpartum you are. And I'd also like to say postpartum is forever. Once you've had a kid, you are postpartum. So even if your kid is 30 years old, you can still 100% learn how to use your core and pelvic floor and to manage that pressure and to feel better and to have your stomach look better. It's never too late.
Amazing. I love that. And where can everyone find your program? What's it called? And yeah, like what other programs do you offer?
Yeah, so you can find all the details at getmomstrong.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, also under Get Mom Strong. My program is Strong Like a Mother. Right now, it's a web-based application. I'm not sure when this is going to release, but the app is coming out at the end of July. So I will be in both the App Store and Google Play under Strong Like a Mother program. But you can find everything you need at getmomstrong.com. There's a quiz to help onboard you and find the best program fit for you, and all the details are there.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. And just how you help so many women, because I think, like you said, I mean, so many women tend to be dismissed with questions or just told like, well, that's the way it is. So I think it's amazing all the work you're doing. And I was looking at your Instagram and just seeing like so many, I mean, so many reviews of the program, so many before and afters of people just changing their bodies. I think that's really amazing.
Thanks. I love it. I love it. We've got a great community. That's the other thing that makes it so special. There's a private Facebook group for subscribers, and it's like the most supportive group of women ever on the interweb. So I feel lucky to be a part of it.
Awesome. I love that. And so I always like to end these interviews with fun thinking questions. So if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
Stop sucking in. I think women, we chronically suck in, and you got to keep billboards and advertising 3 words or less, right?
Yeah.
Stop sucking in.
I
Save
love
your
that.
pelvic floor.
I love that. That's awesome. It's funny because I just started seeing that more and more places talking about like, don't do this, like it causes so much damage. Cause yeah, like I can always remember like that's just what we did.
Yeah, for
That's,
sure. And now we all wear the high-waisted jeans, and it like forces you to suck in. It's like all day. You're like, okay, sucking in.
I know. And then there's talks of bringing the low lace or the low one. I'm like, sorry,
Let's
I'm not.
not go extreme. Somewhere in the middle, people.
Yes, exactly. Well, awesome. It was so great talking with you, Ashley. And it was like, I just, again, like love the work you do. And I think so many moms are going to feel inspired by the things you're doing and yeah, check you out.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys, it's time for our Mom Tales of the Week. This week, we asked you to share the funniest thing your child has done. We did this or a similar question before, and we got so many good responses, we had to do it again because I think in hard times or when things are rough, it makes it all so much better just to be able to look back and laugh at those moments. And, it's easy to get frustrated in the moment, but looking back, if we can just laugh at it and be like, you know what, this is a core memory. I'm going to remember it later. It kind of makes things a little bit easier. So here are the responses we got this week. Number 1, Kindred R. Currently 22 weeks pregnant with his sister. He is 17 months. Yesterday was a bad back day. He followed me around the house, sticking his belly out and holding his back while waddling. Okay, that's really cute. I can just picture him like walking around like this. And I mean, that means he's kind of like, they say mimicking is like a sign of, I'm totally drawing a blank, but like a sign of admiration. So he looks up to you. Number 2, Anonymous. My daughter climbed out of our swimming pool and took a poop in the yard, then wanted to go inside to wipe her bottom and pee in the potty. Wow. I mean, it's a little backwards. Yeah, I mean, at least you can laugh at it, That's all I gotta say about that. At least you can laugh at it. That's pretty funny though. I wonder if she's done that before or why she thinks it's okay to do one thing, not the other, but then, do everything else inside. It's pretty funny. Okay, number 3, Anonymous. Splashed his hand in a public toilet. Ugh, well, I'm glad you can laugh at that now. Maybe you laughed at the moment, but a public toilet, oh, that's a similar, I heard one similar where I think it was Scary Mommy's account maybe, or no, Mommy Cusses, and she said she was potty training her daughter and holding her over a public toilet, and or I think she was holding herself, and she slipped and fell like in it. And so her whole bottom was just in the public toilet. And she was like, it was really hard for me, but we had to just move on from it. So, laughing at those things, finding the core memory unlocked. Number 4, Ashley. I asked my 5-year-old to keep an eye on his sister while I put together dinner. I peeked out of the kitchen to find him in a Spider-Man costume and sitting on my daughter's pack and play. He took his role very seriously. I can only imagine what that looked like to come out and see your son just perched up there sitting on the top. That's hilarious. Well, hey, it means he's looking out for his sister. That's good. Number 5, Mary. My daughter was coloring with chalk outside. She must have gotten tired because she drew herself a pillow and decided to take a nap on it. That is one creative kid. I mean, I remember we used to like draw on our driveway, and I would like draw like a whole store and like be like, okay, here's the cash register, here are the clothes. Like, it was so much fun. But like, I mean, she doesn't say how old her daughter is, but that's pretty smart to come up with. And to just take a nap outside, I mean, what a better place. Number 6, Heather. This wasn't my own kid, but I thought it was hilarious. For Christmas last year, my son's kindergarten class put on a play. They were asked to dress up like elves. One of the kids showed up dressed like Elvis. It was too cute. I could see how that could be easily misconstrued. Elves, Elvis, Christmas elves, Christmas Elvis. It's all the same, right? I don't know. Oh my gosh, I would love to see a picture of that. Number 7, Julie. I opened a bottle of medicine for my headache. My nephew goes, how did you open that? I tried to, but it didn't open for me. I said, yes, because there's child lock on it. Children can't open it. He stops and looks at me so confused and then amazed and says, but how does it know I'm a child? That sounds like something I would have said as a kid. Because you just don't think like that. You're not thinking of the mechanics of the bottle that like only adults know. You're like, wait, does it somehow sense I'm a child? That's really cute. Okay, number 8, Jackie. I cannot make this stuff up. We put my son to bed and we were in the living room watching a movie and heard a noise from his room. So we called him out here and he said it was his drawer that made the noise. So then he goes back to bed. So I get up about 10 to 15 minutes later to pee and go look in his room and see his little chair up to his dresser and the lid off the fish tank on the ground and the light in the water. I popped my head out to tell my husband that I can't find the fish. Oh no. My husband walks in. We turn on a small light and find our son snuggling with the fish asleep in bed. Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, the fish did not survive the cuddle. My son told us the next day he just wanted to pet it. Oh, that's so sad. He probably had no idea he couldn't live without the water. He just wanted to cuddle it. Oh, poor guy. Probably be so sad to know, like, that you did that. Oh, that's okay. My mom told me that I used to, like, get so excited about frogs. I would find frogs and be like, look, Mom, a frog. And I would squeeze it so tight that I would not usually make it. So there's that. Number 9, Jada B. My daughter is in speech therapy for speech delay and autism. She got a sentence out that made everyone, including the speech and occupational therapist, proud. Mind you, she barely talks and was just switched from nonverbal to preverbal. She fell and said, oh, I just ate shit. Oh my gosh, that was probably such like a proud but also funny moment. Like, I love that that's the sentence that she came out with. But what a proud moment, you know, either way, to go from nonverbal to preverbal and saying some words. That's awesome. I love that. Funny, but also very heartwarming and sweet. Awesome, guys. Well, that's all the mom tales I have for this week. Hope you enjoyed them. We share new questions every Friday. We love to hear from you guys. So if you even have a suggestion for something you want to share or a fun story, we've got all kinds of things up our sleeve. But we always like to hear from you guys what you think. Or if you just have a funny or interesting story to share with us, share it, because that will kind of start the conversation for future ones. So, because we just love reading them. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mom Talks with Krista. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching this episode. But before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified of future episodes. We release new episodes every single Wednesday. See you next week.